members and guests. I have lived the overwhelming majority of my life less than a mile from the Pacific Ocean. In my earliest years, I occupied a bucolic little suburban neighborhood with a finger of San Francisco Bay stretching into the backyards of the houses just across the street from mine. The highlight of my early years was summertime and spending my days at the local junior college swimming pool playing with my friends. And it was great because I got in free because my dad was a professor at the college and I could get guests in, so I made a lot of friends that way. Unfortunately, I was wrenched from my happy little suburban home and dragged out to the country when my folks decided to retire out there. They dragged me kicking and screaming to this little finger of land that stretched between the Pacific Ocean and Tomales Bay. Fortunately, the social hub out there was the Inverness Yacht Club. You may have an image of your mind of what a yacht club is like, and this one definitely was not like that. It was a dusty little lot with a falling down chain link fence surrounding it. And at low tide, there wasn't even any water. It was just mud. So whenever events were scheduled, people had to have their tide books out to make sure there was actually going to be some water. Sailing soon became something I was interested in. And then swimming, boating, fishing, surfing, and diving. And I really think of my time out there in the country as my most formative years. It's where I learned to really feel safe in the world. In the mid-1980s, I first came down to the Monterey Bay area, where I attended the University of California at Santa Cruz. And ironically, my very first home was right overlooking the yacht harbor. The housemate was on the sailing team. And it was just a block from the ocean, so I remember hearing the waves crash at night when I was laying in bed. Regrettably, I graduated and was forced to move on. I lived in Pescadero briefly up in the Redwoods where I experienced the Loma Prieta earthquake. It was an exciting moment with 10 screaming fifth grade girls in the dining room. I moved to Pacific Grove after that, where I remember riding my bike down the hill to Lover's Point and swimming in the ocean until I was so hypothermic I could barely get on my bike and get back home, where I would sit in the bathtub and warm up again until I could function. From there I moved to Monterey, up against the hillside where I could ride my bike up into the trees. It reminded me of home and really enjoyed that place. Carmel Valley was next. I lived right on the river. There were swimming holes, lots of hot sunshine. It was a very nice place. Watsonville followed, and for the first couple of months, I actually would tell people I lived in southern Aptos. It was very close to the border. And then I finally gained some pride in place and had a big garden and really enjoyed my time in Watsonville. There were horse trails and a lot of exploring to be done. I moved from there to Prunedale, and it shocked me how much I enjoyed my time there. It's only any place I'd ever driven through as quickly as I could, but I was up on the hill and there was lots of room to run around, and I was really close to Moss Landing, which was a fabulous surfing spot. I then moved to Carmel. And along the way, there were a few little forays back up north, and I lived in Boulder briefly and up in Portland, but we're focusing on the local area. So Carmel was next, and I could walk down to the beach, stroll around town, and I was back in the pine trees, and that was a really nice experience for me. And now I'm back in Pacific Grove, 2 houses up from Lover's Point. Feels like I've circled back to where I originally came from. And today I do aspire to return to living in Carmel. The beach, the bay, the pine trees, all provide me the greatest feeling of home. Mr. Taylor.